Let's talk about the winners and losers of this debate. And with that, we're going to bring in Kristin Tate, columnist for The Hill. Kristin, good morning to you. So what do you think? Who did well and who failed?
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy was the big winner from last night. Ron DeSantis, he probably got bumped down a notch. Mike Pence and Chris Christie, they bombed last night, and the other candidates didn't really move the needle much. But yeah, Vivek was the big winner. He said that he wanted to defund Ukraine. He said he would pardon Trump. He said that the climate change agenda is a hoax and that he wanted to get rid of a bunch of these big government bureaucracies. He was unapologetic. He was bold. He's really fun to talk to, and I think this guy has a big future ahead of him. And, going into the debate last night, Ron DeSantis, he was the #2 candidate after Trump in this primary. All of the news reports regarding this race up until now have really only treated Ron DeSantis and Trump as the two serious candidates. That all changed after last night. Vivek is likely now the #2 candidate in this race, and he may very well have earned his place as a VP for Trump if Trump is to win a second term.
Wow.
He said he would never take a VP spot, but they always say that.
Kristin, I don't know if
they all say that.
I don't know if I agree with you necessarily that DeSantis has dropped to the third spot, but I do agree with you in the sense that Vivek had a great night. And what I thought he did very well versus, let's say, a Mike Pence. Mike Pence's view, even though most of the night was spent with him talking and interrupting, definitely sort of gave a sense of we're not doing great, but we could be okay in the future. I thought Vivek nailed it when he said, look, we are in trouble. There's an American dream out there, and we're not realizing it right now. Let's take a listen to Vivek Ramaswamy.
I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apoorva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it.
Contrast. Those that said, hey, it's close, we're kind of wishy-washy, and those that came out like Vivek and said, we are in trouble unless we have a 180 and do it now.
Right. And in a lot of ways, these debates are not necessarily about substance, but style. And Vivek really nailed it when it came to style. I have to disagree a little bit about Ron DeSantis. I would say he was actually the biggest loser last night, not because he did poorly. He didn't. He had some very good moments, but because he did not perform well enough, I believe, to defend that place he has in the race as the second #2 candidate. He was a bit underwhelming and just a little bit stiff compared to Vivek Ramaswamy. And a perfect example of that is when the moderators asked the candidates who would pardon Trump as president. Vivek just, unapologetically raised his hand. Ron DeSantis kind of looked around and then sort of sheepishly raised his hand up to his shoulder. That's just a really great example of the contrast between these two candidates. And then, at the end in his closing arguments, Vivek said, he said a few lines. He said, God is real. There are 2 genders. These are the kinds of statements that just a few years ago were really common sense, but now are considered controversial. I mean, some of the candidates on that stage may not even, say these statements anymore.
Yeah.
I think DeSantis did well, but he did get bumped down, in my view, last night.
Yeah, for Vivek Ramaswamy being a novice debater, I mean, he said that he's never debated anybody before where all of these other people are polished politicians, and he's the one that's just up there having no debate experience. He seemed pretty comfortable.